Live from Radio Row at Super Bowl 60 in San Francisco, this is Roy Kessel with Sports Philanthropy Network, and we're very excited to have with us today special guest Evan Marwell. Evan and I have known each other for a long time. So go way back and excited to learn more about the work that you're doing out here. Appreciate the Packer representation as a couple of Wisconsin guys, even though we've got a Bear fan behind the camera there. But so tell us what you've been working on. You've done some amazing things.
Yeah, so back in 2012, I left the corporate world and started an organization called Education Superhighway. Our first mission, what I call 1.0, was to put high-speed internet in every public school in the country. And when we started in 2012, only 10% of schools had good broadband. And 8 years later, 99.3% of them had good broadband. So that was a amazing 8 years that we spent doing that. And then we were going out of business in August of 2020. And then this little thing called the pandemic happened. And we got calls from all kinds of school districts and governors and said, you can't go out of business. We just sent all the kids home and none of them have internet, or a third of them don't have internet. And so we then spent the last 5 years putting internet in low income housing and connected about 5 million homes. And now I thought I was going to go out of business again, but now we're actually working on using all that internet we put in schools to teach kids how to read.
So talk about how you're using that internet to teach them how to read. I know one of the big issues a lot of families had is they didn't have good connection at home. They didn't have enough devices at home. If they had enough devices at home, they didn't have enough bandwidth for all the kids to be streaming their classes at home.
That's exactly right. And that's why we spent 5 years getting high speed broadband to low income households. And, we made a big difference there. But what I realized was, when I originally built all the internet to all the schools, I was sort of like Kevin Costner in the Field of Dreams. If I build it, they will come. They'll use it to actually use digital learning to teach kids how to read and other things. But what I realized was that we have a huge problem in this country, which is that 2/3 of our kids can't read at grade level by the end of third grade, which is when you go from learning how to read to reading to learn. And it turns out that a lot of that is because they never got the really good instruction that you and I got about phonics and how to sound out letters and sound out words and put them all together in sentences. So what we've done is we've started a tutoring program, online virtual tutoring program. It's 15 minutes a day, one-on-one with a tutor, teaching them those basic reading skills so that they can learn how to read by the end of first grade. And it turns out if you learn to read by the end of first grade and that decoding of sentences, there's an 85% chance you continue to know how to read. And so our mission is to make sure that every kid in America who enters first grade reading below grade level gets a tutor during first grade so they finish first grade reading on grade level.
And how many tutors would that be?
Well, if we were going to do that, we would probably need I don't know, call it 150,000 tutors, because we'd need to teach, 1.5 million, 2 million kids a year how to read. But it's totally doable. I know that those tutors are out there, and I know that schools want it. We're already teaching 15,000 kids a day to read, so it's a long way from here to there. But it's totally doable. And the great thing is, there's a new tax credit from the federal government that was part of the One Big Beautiful Bill that allows anybody to give $1,700 to give a scholarship to a kid to get tutoring. And it starts next year in 2027, and we think that can pay for all of this.
So that's an individual that I can give $1,700 to a family to pay for tutoring?
So the way it works is you would give your 1,700, and we think it'll be 3,400 if you're married filing jointly, and you give it to what's called a scholarship granting organization, and it's a new class of nonprofits. And what's really great about this is, let's say you owe $10,000 in federal taxes. If you give that $1,700, it's not like a normal charitable donation where you only get part of it back on your you get 100% of it back. So your bill would go from $10,000 to $8,300, and then the scholarship granting organization works with schools to find kids who don't know how to read as they enter first grade and gives them the scholarship.
So that's an amazing opportunity then for people to really make a difference as you look at trying to find 100,000 mentors that are going to be able to do it. Do the mentors get paid in this program?
Yeah, the tutors all get paid. Typically, it's around $20 or so an hour to work with these kids. They work with the same kid all year long. It's 15 minutes every day of tutoring, and they love the pay. But the other thing they love is like the satisfaction that you get from teaching a kid how to read. A little kid and the smiles when they go from "I'm stupid" to actually "No, I just was never really taught how to read properly." Our tutors talk about it all the time.
Well, it's an amazing thing because we see with young kids, whether it's in sports, whether it's in academics, when you help them learn and grow, like you said, that smile, that sense of satisfaction is unbelievable in terms of seeing what they're able to do and how they can grow. So talk a little bit about how you recruit the tutors,
Yeah.
because that's a big undertaking.
It is. So, one of the things that most historical tutoring relied on was they only recruited trained teachers to be tutors. So we said that's not going to work. We're never going to get to 150,000 trained teachers because we have a teacher shortage in this country. So instead, what we said is, let's figure out how we can teach anybody to be a highly qualified reading tutor in a short period of time. So what we look for is anyone who wants to work with kids and is willing to take feedback and learn on their job. And so we'll put up an ad on Indeed, and we'll probably get 1,000 applicants in one little ad. We'll pick the best of them, and we'll teach them in 5 weeks how to be a great tutor.
And when you go through and screen those, right, that's a big undertaking, a big process anyway, right? So what's the distinguishing factors when you look and identify what would make somebody a good tutor versus
Yeah,
a secondary?
mostly it's their personality, and do they want to work with kids? Do they, are they able to sort of be patient with a kid who's struggling and, getting them through the material? And also, do they take feedback? And because if they don't take feedback, it's going to be hard for us to teach them. Other than that, we can teach anyone to be a great reading tutor.
So what can we do at Sports Philanthropy Network? How can we help support that mission to build and grow that base of tutors?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing will be actually getting the word out to people next year about this new program, this tax credit program, because I guess it's free. Like you get to choose, instead of sending my money to the government, I can send it to teach a kid how to read. That's a pretty no-brainer decision for most people. So just getting the word out to people.
And so the organizations that can accept those donations, what do they have to do to get set up? We work with a lot of nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, so you have to have a charter to be specifically one of these scholarship granting organizations. And then you have to go to states and get approved by the state to work in their state. So the federal government set up this program, but the states have to approve the individual scholarship granting organizations. So we're talking to governor's offices, and we're already on the list in Virginia for next year, and we plan to be on the list in almost every state.
Okay, so people are going to be able to donate directly to you in order to get that done and identify the...
Exactly. So they'll be able to donate to Education Superhighway, and then we'll be partnering with schools across the country to identify which kids need a tutor in first grade, and then granting those scholarships to pay for the tutoring.
Well, that's an enormous undertaking. So once you get your 150,000 tutors, what's next?
Retirement?
You're never going to retire. You know that. You always have another idea and another way to help the world.
The thing about this is, though, that every year there's another 3.5 million first graders that show up. So this is something that, hopefully we shrink over time, how many kids need tutoring. But I think this will go on for a long time. So hopefully they'll carry me out and I'll be teaching a kid to read.
Evan, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks
for Evan Marwell. I'm Roy Kessel with Sports Philanthropy Network, reminding everybody to live generously.